This is Evil J, a character that appeared not only in the show, but also in the sets. But not all Ninjago characters are treated in the same way. For instance, there are many characters who appear in the show, but are just non-existent when it comes to the sets. But sometimes, after years of begging, LEGO will finally decide to bring these characters into the sets. So today, I'm going to be counting down the top 10 Ninjago figures that we need to see in 2025. So let's get into it. In 10th place, we have Zantans. First introduced in Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, Zantans is a character who definitely deserves to be made into a minifigure. Not only is he now an elemental master, which makes him so much more collectible, but he would also introduce a bunch of new pieces. Not only that, but it would also be great to get more characters from other realms. And I think Zantans is the most important character from the Mother Realm. I mean, no one else from there is even named. In 9th place is Arakur, and even though he was only in one episode, I still think he would make a great figure. Firstly, his character design is just amazing, and I would love to see it in minifigure form, and he would pair up really nicely with Zant. I do think he might become more important as the show goes on, but right now he's not, and that's why he's a bit lower on this list. In 8th place is Iser, also known as the Elemental Master of Reflex. And this guy would just make such a good minifigure. Firstly, I would love to get the horn piece he uses. On top of that, he's an Elemental Master, which already puts him on so many collectors' wanted lists. And I do think it could make sense story-wise, because while I don't speak for every Ninjago fan, I do think that exploring the culture and who the Devonians are as a whole could make for a really interesting season or part of the story. His elemental power is also really cool, making him stand out to a lot more fans. In 7th place is Gandalaria, a character who I think definitely deserves to be captured in minifigure form. Not only would she look absolutely amazing, but I could totally see her coming back to the show in future seasons. And this figure would work really well in a Monastery of Mysterium set. In 6th place is Mr. Frohickey. First seen in Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, Mr. Frohickey is the first assistant keeper of the monastery. And because of that, getting a figure of him would definitely be ideal, since his job does mean that he's gonna stick around with a ninja. But I also think that a figure of him could just be really interesting, specifically the new headpiece. In 5th place is Bonsel. And now we've gone to the figures that we really need, and Bonsel is no exception. She played a massive role in Dragon's Rising Season 2, and seems to have become quite a fan favourite, but because of how she looks in the show, it's really hard to make customs. But because of that, it would require LEGO to make a bunch of new pieces. And that's why I'm just not sure how realistic it would be to get a figure of her. But before I move on to 4th place, if you've made it this far in the video, you should probably subscribe. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of October, so doing so would be such a big help. But now, back to the video. In 4th place is Frack, and even though he's only been around for half a season, the role of which he played definitely makes him deserving of a minifigure. Obviously, with him being an Elemental Master, fans will want him even more, but personally, I think the reasons go beyond that. You see, in Dragon's Rising Season 2, Cole acted as a sort of mentor for Frack, and I think that this could evolve into a sort of master-student relationship. Obviously, their powers are very similar, just like Kai and Wildfire, and Frack is also seen in the monastery at the end of Dragon's Rising Season 2, so I think it's safe to say that he'll play a bigger role in future seasons. In 3rd place is Rox, who's actually most likely going to appear in the sets, along with the rest of the Forbidden 5. But even though it's already been pretty much confirmed, I still think she deserves a spot on this list, because she is still a character we really need in 2025. Not only is she an Elemental Master, but it looks as though the Forbidden 5 are going to be the main villains of Season 3. And with how much fans love the Forbidden 5, it's definitely a collection we need sooner rather than later. In 2nd place is Geo, who was introduced in Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, and has been a recurring character ever since. Not only does he look cool, which makes him great for display, but in the show he's also very close to Cole, which would make him really good for play. Oh yeah, and he's an elemental master, which would also make him really collectible. But in first place, it just has to be Noct. He played a massive role in Dragon's Rising Season 2, and seems to be going on to something even bigger in Season 3. And by that, I mean he could possibly be the main villain. Like a lot of other figures on this list, he's an elemental master, which makes him even more collectible. Speaking of collectible, if LEGO release all the Forbidden 5 next year, then that will create a much bigger incentive to get him. His design is also just incredible. But yeah, this is definitely a figure that we desperately need. And with that, we've gone through all 10 minifigures on this list. Make sure to comment down below which figures you want to see in 2025. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.